following some breaking news right now. According to sources, the longtime chief advisor to Mayor Eric Adams, Ingrid Lewis-Martin, will surrender to authorities tomorrow to face charges. And our political reporter, Bobby Kuza, is here with me on set. Bobby, I guess let's start with what we know about this impending indictment. What is this about?
I mean, Ingrid Lewis-Martin, first of all, she may not be that well known to the general public, but she is a longtime top advisor, close confidant, really one of his most loyal lieutenants to Mayor Adams. She has been with him for years. She served at City Hall, and she just resigned from her position on Sunday. So we have known for a few days now that this may have been in the works. She held a news conference on Monday. You see the video of that there, where she basically said she was expecting to be indicted sometime this week and sort of preemptively declared her innocence and said that she has not engaged in any illegal behavior. And what she and her attorney have said is that they believe this case pertains to some type of quid pro quo, where she performed some sort of favor, making a call to the buildings department on a project, and that there is then some benefit in return that was paid to her son, whose name is Glenn Martin II. Now, there was some reporting today in the New York Times that had a little bit more detail on these bribery charges, that it actually involves a $200,000, or rather a $100,000 loan to buy a Porsche that was made to Ingrid Lewis-Martin's son from these two businessmen, one of them a hotel operator, in exchange for that favor, having to do with making a call to the buildings department in order to smooth over an issue that they were having. So those are the basic outlines of the case. And of course, this comes in the larger context of the mayor, being under federal indictment. This appears to be unrelated. So the charges against the mayor relating to bribery and corruption and illegal foreign donations appear to be completely separate from this case, which appears to be related to bribery involving his top advisor. We have no indication that they had anything to do with this.
Which is interesting to point out, because we were just watching that video there of Ingrid Lewis-Martin's home being raided by the feds. I believe it was back in September. And it was kind of happening at the same time that we were seeing all these people within the Adams administration, step down, resign, all sorts of fallout we were seeing. And so, at least for now, we think this is not related to one of the cases the mayor is dealing with.
It's complicated because there's the investigation into the mayor, which we know about because there were charges back in September. There are so many other people in the mayor's orbit who are either being investigated or at some point have had their phones seized or their homes raided by investigators. And in many cases, these are separate but sometimes overlapping investigations. And there have been so many people in the administration who have been touched by this, and we have seen a number of them either resign or be pushed out. I mean, that includes the police commissioner, 2 deputy mayors, a couple of top advisors to the mayor, the school's chancellor, and it's a sort of interconnected web of investigations, some of them coming from federal prosecutors, and some of them, in this case, coming from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. And we should note, tomorrow there is a news conference that has been called for 1 o'clock by the Manhattan District Attorney in conjunction with the city's Department of Investigation. So we don't know, we haven't confirmed that is what they will be discussing at that news conference, but you can sort of connect the dots there. So the expectation is that Ingrid Lewis-Martin will surrender and will be charged tomorrow. And again, she has sort of preemptively said that she has been falsely accused, although at the time of that news conference on Monday, she didn't know exactly what the charges were going to consist of.
This is someone, as you pointed out, who was very close to the mayor for years. She was constantly, at those press conferences, sitting right next to him. What does this mean for the mayor? I know you're now saying, this is unrelated, but does this impact the mayor?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not a great look for an elected official to have so many people on his staff, in his administration, in his close orbit, in legal trouble. I mean, like I said, there's a laundry list of people close to the mayor and who are on the city payroll who have come under investigation. And in most of those cases, none of those top level officials have been indicted. Many of them resigned and left City Hall, but this is the first time that a high level member of the administration, in addition to the mayor, has now also been indicted. So whether, that has some sort of political ramifications for the mayor, I mean, we know the mayor has not resigned, has suggested that he is going to stick this out and run for re-election, including in the Democratic primary in June. And, over the last few months, I feel like all those calls for him to resign have kind of settled down a bit, and we have gone back to sort of some semblance of normal governance at City Hall, and the mayor has been plowing forward with his reelection. Whether this will hurt him remains to be seen, but we can say that his approval numbers are already rock bottom. I mean, we've seen that in recent months, and you can't expect that this is going to help.
And the mayor did address some of these issues on Fox yesterday. Let's listen to some of that sound.
Yeah.
Are you concerned that any of these individuals are going to turn evidence against you, Mayor Adams?
The only way you could be concerned about that if there's evidence to turn against you. I did not break the law. I did nothing wrong. That is how I live my life, and that is how I'm going to continue to live my life.
So apologies, that was actually earlier today. What do you make of that?
Yeah, and I mean, and again, there's been so many city officials involved in these investigations. He was also asked not only about Ingrid Lewis-Martin, but also about a woman by the name of Winnie Greco, who was another advisor to the mayor, who's also under investigation. The idea being, are they being pressured to provide evidence and testimony against the mayor? Which is always something that there's speculation about in these cases. Complicating matters, though, is the fact that this case against Ingrid Lewis-Martin is coming from the Manhattan DA,
right,
and the mayor is facing federal charges from federal prosecutors. Not to say that there isn't sometimes some overlap and that, there couldn't be some sort of cross-pollination there. But again, these are two very separate investigations. But Ingrid Lewis-Martin has always been at the mayor's side. She's involved in so much of the decision-making at City Hall. So, her sort of fingerprints are everywhere when it comes to decisions that are made by the administration.
And if that Times reporting pans out to be, factual, it's hard not to recognize the parallels between the quid pro quo that's being alleged there and the bribery charges involving the mayor in that separate case about the Turkish consulate and the bribery, from Turkish.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was
nationals.
at the crux of the case against the mayor, that he had made a call to the fire department in order to expedite the inspection, the approval of this Turkish consulate building that was going up in Manhattan. And so in this case, it involves the buildings department. And again, sort of trying to speed things through, trying to kind of smooth over the approval process, which can always be, very, very clunky for some of these buildings projects. And so often we see this as sort of a nexus of corruption. We saw the mayor's buildings commissioner just a year ago, I believe it was, who was indicted, and this was before the more recent wave of investigations and charges, but that has not yet been resolved. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Bobby, thank you for your insight into this. We are going to have much more on this coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. For now, the rush hour is going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.